We have a bombshell out of the T.I. and Tiny case that they were recently awarded $71 million from. For those of you who don't know, I am Dave, 10-year intellectual property attorney, dealing with everything from patents, copyrights, trade secrets, as well as trademarks. And you guys, hey, you're in the right spot today. I'm going to give you a unique perspective from a 10-year intellectual property attorney that a lot of people are not going to give you when they report on this case. And for those of you who don't know, as a quick recap, T.I. and Tiny recently filed lawsuit for trade dress infringement against MGA, MGA Entertainment out in California, big company. I mean, I think this company does billions of dollars a year. So this is a fairly big company for trademark infringement, trade dress infringement. And as a result of it, they were awarded $71 million. Now, I was actually reading up on this case, and I hadn't realized that they tried to file a lawsuit against MGA Entertainment twice before that, ended in mistrials. But what they say, if at first you don't succeed, try and try again. So the third time, they were able to file a lawsuit and get what is called a jury verdict. And a jury came back in T.I. and Tiny's favor for $71 million. And this is the whole point of, I know sometimes you watch a lot of attorneys, this is why you want a jury deciding your case as opposed to a judge. Because the jury, they can go crazy with these awards. I think out of the $71 million, of $58 million were punitive damages to punish MGA, and the rest of it was $17 million or so were compensatory damages for the loss of profits given a trademark infringement. So again, just say that again for those of you in the back. Out of the $71 million, all of that wasn't because of the lost profits, or compensatory damages is what we call them. Overwhelming majority of it, what $58 million or so, was for punitive damages, and I think $17 million were for compensatory damages for the lost profits. So that's how that ended up. Jury, they decided that. Well, back in September, I made a video on that, kind of talking about it, and fresh off the press, which we'll take a look at a few things. We'll take a look at a few things here in a little bit of the judge coming back and saying, hold on. He's looking at the jury verdict, and the jury, $71 million, and that sounds like a lot. And he put a temporary reduction in that price back to the $17 million. So essentially, he wiped away the punitive damages. He said, "Hey, I don't think this was intentional. This infringement was intentional. So I'm gonna wipe away the punitive damages, but I'll still allow $17 million to be awarded to T.I. and Tiny." Whereas the jury said they awarded the punitive damages because they said this stuff, the acts by MGA Entertainment was intentional and was willful. So they knew what they were doing when they were participating or infringing the OMG dials of T.I. and Tiny's daughter and that group, the OMG girls, I think is the name of the group. So you see how this is crazy, where two reasonable minds can differ, where the judge is saying, hey, I don't think their acts, MGA acts, were intentional, and therefore these punitive damages, I don't think those are necessary. Whereas the jury is saying not only was the acts intentional, but the punitive damages are rightfully awarded, and they should be in a $50-some million range. So it seems like the judge and the jury is at odds, and given the power of the judge in this particular case or this particular matter, he can wipe away the punitive damages, which he has done so on a temporary basis. He looked at the lawsuit, looked at the award or the verdict, and said, I don't know about that. Let me reduce this. I'm gonna sleep on it though. I am going to sleep on it, but for now, we're going to take away those punitive damages. I would imagine that any final verdict or order will be coming out here any day now. But at first, look, at the first thing is first, I want to show you guys something that I recently seen. And this is actually a pretty interesting point where in the African-American community, we'll spend some money before we got it. I'll tell you that. That's probably why a lot of the check cashing places are in those areas, because before you get that check, before you get that lump sum that you're expecting, you will borrow against it. And it seems like Zanique, I think is her name. Correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but I think Zanique is the daughter of T.I. and Tiny. Seems like she made a purchase. Now, this purchase was shortly after them winning the award, which, hence you see all Urban Central, they see T.I. daughter Zanique cops a new AMG Benz after winning the $71 million. So yeah, we're going to take a look at this here really quickly, but she did this shortly after winning the $71 million lawsuit. So let's take a look at what's going on in this one.
You want to help me pull it? You want to help me pull the thing?
I think the other order that just get a TI and Tiny.
Yeah. For sure.
Okay, what do I do with the sheet?
I got it. I'll take care of it.
So sweet car. So it seems like, hey, Zanique, I think is her name. She purchased this car shortly after winning a $71 million lawsuit. Do you think she did it just because, or do you think she did this as a result of expecting that $71 million? We may have to return this car. Like I said, unfortunately, in the African American community, we'll spend some money before you got it. We all have at least one or two relatives that you hit that lotto, and before they go even pick up the money, they spent pretty much all the money. So, unfortunately, in the African American community, we will spend some money that we know we have coming in before we actually get the money. So you guys have to let me know, do you think she's going to return the car since that, $50-some million in punitive damages was wiped away, or do you think she'll keep the car? No, mindful, this is just neat. I think the other two members are involved. Then you have T.I. and Tiny. So that $17 million, it essentially got to get split 5 ways, at least 5 ways. So you guys have to let me know whether or not you think she'll be returning the car if the case stands as called. So let me kind of pull up one more thing here, a couple more things. But the first thing is an article from Yahoo Finance. Let's see what they're talking about regarding this case, which I think is actually interesting. So this just came out, yesterday, January 7th. T.I. and Tiny OMG Girls lawsuit payout cut from $71 million to $17 million. Man, just time to just flip the numbers around. That's crazy. Back in September, a judge ruled that T.I. and Tiny Harris would be awarded $17.8 million for real damages and $53 million in punitive damages from MGA Entertainment following the couple's lawsuit over the OMG Girls intellectual property. So the punitive damages in that case was $53 million. To punish MGA Entertainment, that's what the jury awarded. They accused the toy company of releasing LOL surprise OMG dolls. I'm not sure why they have dolls twice there. Eerily similar to the likeness of the OMG Girls. The first 2 attempts at suing resulted in mistrials, but the third and final attempt led to the roughly $71 million ruling. However, on Monday, January 6th, the U.S. District Judge James Selner found insufficient evidence proving MGA Entertainment infringed on the OMG Girls trademark. Under the Lanham Act, which is again essentially the Trademark Act, proof of intentional infringement is important for such cases to be awarded in punitive damages, meaning that the $53.6 million of the original award will not be granted. And the Lanham Act states a plaintiff that establishes trademark infringement is entitled to recover the defendant's profits, but there are judicial discretion. So again, this is all at the discretion of the judge. So these are, I think Zanique here that you saw doing a car unveiling is to the far right, and it seems like these other two are the other 2 members. So it's a total of 3 group members. And then it seems like this is T.I. and Tiny pretty much talking when the initial lawsuit was awarded back in September. And then there's one more thing I'm going to show you guys, and this is actually from Black Millionaires. So shout out to the team over there, Black Millionaires. This is actually from the actual lawsuit, which I think is pretty worthwhile. And what does it say here? We can really just take a look at the last paragraph. Upon consideration of the evidence, again, this is a tentative order, as you see up top, a tentative order regarding the post-trial equitable issues. So it seems like maybe someone from the MGA Entertainment team, had filed something in the district court saying, hey, this punitive damages doesn't look right. And it seems like in light of that filing, the judge came back with this tentative order. So again, like I said before, he's going to sleep on it, and maybe in the next day or so, or any day now, he's going to give his final ruling as it relates to the $53 million in punitive damages. But as of now, his process was, upon consideration of the evidence, the court grants disgorgement of profits of $17.8 million under common law misappropriation, but does not award punitive damages. Further, the court declines to disgorge profits or enhance award under the Lanham Act, which is actually pretty interesting to me, because the way I read that, again, it'll be interesting as his final order comes out. But typically when you file these trademark lawsuits, and again, I'm telling you, man, please subscribe to the channel to be a part of the IP community, as well as hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm, because most people who are reporting on this, they're not going to give you the game that I'm going to give you as a 10-year intellectual property attorney. So typically when you file a complaint for any type of intellectual property lawsuit, particularly for trademark infringement, trade dress infringement, you're throwing a lot of things in there. So trademark infringement is a federal law under the Lanham Act specifically, but each state also has a state trademark case, a trademark laws. However, typically when you file for trademark infringement, you typically file it at the federal level, just because the federal level has a lot more. They just better equipped to deal with such cases, where in the state court judges, they're not kind of really equipped to deal with these trademark infringement claims on the state level. So when you file the trademark case, you're throwing in a lot of stuff. You're on a federal level, you're throwing in trademark infringement under the Lanham Act. You're throwing in state trademark claims. You're throwing in unfair competition claims. You're throwing in a lot of different complaints and seeing what sticks. And at least the way I read this, it seems like what they're saying is, I'll pull it back up for you guys. It seems like what they're saying is that the 17.8, the judge is saying under common law misappropriation, but did not award punitive damages. Further, the court declines to disgorge profits or enhance the award under the Lanham Act. So it seems like what this judge is saying, not only are we not going to give you guys punitive damages, but this really was not even trademark infringement. However, it was common law misappropriation, which seems like it'd be a state law claim to me, for $17.8 million. So again, it seems like the court, or the judge in this case, after further reviewing the jury's decision, he's saying, hey, this was common law misappropriation, and for that, I'm going to give you guys the $17.8 million. But it seems like he's saying that this wasn't a trademark infringement under the Lanham Act, and therefore, I'm not going to give you guys, I'm not going to disgorge the profits, or I'm not going to award punitive damages. So it seems like the jury and the judge was on completely different sides in their ruling. And again, it seems like we'll see what happens in the coming days as the judge gives his final ruling as it relates to the punitive damages. It seems like at least they're going to get $17.8 million, unless MGA Entertainment appeal the matter, which I would imagine that they will appeal it, regardless if they just got T.I. and Tiny Jets was awarded 17.8, or they are ultimately awarded the full $71 million. So I would imagine that MGA Entertainment will appeal no matter what. But it seems like the judge and the jury are on two different sides of the coin, not only as it relates to the punitive damages, but even trademark infringement, where it's under the Lanham Act, under the federal statute, where it seems like the judge is saying, no, this wasn't trademark infringement under the Lanham Act, and the jury said it was trademark infringement under the Lanham Act. In addition to that, or as a result of that, we're going to give T.I. and Tiny and the OMG girls punitive damages to the tune of what, $53 million. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what the appeals come out with. And again, I'll continue to try to bring you guys the latest and greatest as it relates to this. But again, this is where we stand at right now. Like I said, please hit a like for the YouTube algorithm if you enjoyed this content, as well as hit a subscribe to be a part of the IP community. We talk a lot about not only current events, which what we have here. We talk about IP lawsuits. I interview people who have everyday people, such as just like me and yourself, who have built businesses around the IP and are monetizing off of it. We do Shark Tank breakdowns. We do a lot of different things coming up, and I actually be at the Shark Tank reunion tour later this month in Tampa. So it's a lot going on the channel. It's definitely something that you guys can get down with. So please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Do you think Zanique, I think is her name, is going to be returning that AMG Benz to the extent that $53 million in punitive damages gets wiped away? Do you think the judge is going to come back and say, you know what, I'm going to leave it as is? Or do you think he's going to kind of hold to what he said in the temporary order in terms of wiping out the $53 million in punitive damages? I would love to hear you guys comments in the comment section. And until next time, peace.